My son disappeared last Tuesday afternoon. I don't know how to say it, but I need to tell you what happened. If you've ever experienced the terror of a missing child, comment, pray below. His name is X. He's 5 years old. And last Tuesday he vanished from our property while I was in a meeting. I need to tell you this story, but I'm still shaking as I say it. What happened changed me fundamentally. Not in a philosophical or abstract way, but in a visceral, immediate way that I'm still processing. Let me start at the beginning because the context matters. Tuesday started like most days, back-to-back meetings scheduled from 7 a.m., calls with engineering teams, strategy sessions, production reviews. The usual chaos of running multiple companies simultaneously. X was home with his nanny, playing in the yard, doing the normal things 5-year-olds do. I was in my home office, deep in a video call about manufacturing challenges at one of our facilities. Critical issues, time-sensitive decisions, millions of dollars at stake. The kind of meeting where you can't just step away. At 2:47 p.m., there was a knock on my office door. I held up a finger, 1 minute, and continued talking about production timelines. The knock came again, more urgent. I felt a flash of irritation. I was in the middle of something important. I muted myself and opened the door, ready to quickly handle whatever minor issue needed attention. Maria, X's nanny, was standing there, and the expression on her face made my stomach drop before she said a single word. "I can't find X," she said. "I've looked everywhere." For a moment, I didn't process what she was saying. My mind was still half in the meeting, still thinking about production schedules and timeline concerns. "What do you mean you can't find him?" "He was playing in the backyard 20 minutes ago. I went inside to get his snack maybe 5 minutes, no more. When I came back out, he was gone. I've searched the whole yard, the house, everywhere. He's not here." The world suddenly felt very still and very loud at the same time. I walked back to my computer, saw the faces of executives waiting for me on the screen, and said something I'd never said before in a professional setting. "I have to go. Family emergency." I closed the laptop without waiting for a response. 20 minutes. He'd been missing for 20 minutes, and I was just now learning about it. "Have you called security?" I asked, already moving. I wanted to check everywhere first. I thought maybe he was hiding, or... "Call security. Now, tell them we need everyone searching. Then call the police." I was already running through the house, calling X's name. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, too loud, too sharp, trying to sound calm but laced with something that felt like panic trying to break through. Our property is large, acres of land, multiple buildings, a pool, a garden, trees, open spaces. So many places a small child could be, so many places a small child shouldn't be alone. I ran outside, shouting his name. X, where are you? This isn't funny, buddy. Come out now." Nothing. Just the sound of wind through trees and my own voice echoing back at me. I checked the pool first. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might break through my chest. The pool was empty. Thank God. The pool was empty. But if he wasn't in the pool, where was he? Security arrived within minutes. I have a team on the property at all times. Within 5 minutes, we had 8 people spreading out across the grounds, all calling X's name, checking every building, every corner, every possible hiding place. I kept my phone in my hand, ready to call 911, but some part of me was still hoping we'd find him in the next minute, that this would resolve quickly, that there was a simple explanation. That hope was keeping the real terror at bay. As long as I believed we'd find him any second, I could function. I could search methodically, could make decisions, could direct the security team. But as the minutes ticked by 5, then 10, then 15, that hope started to crack. I found myself thinking things I didn't want to think. Our property backs up to open land. What if he'd wandered beyond our fence? What if he'd been hurt, fallen somewhere we couldn't see him? What if someone had taken him? That last thought was the worst. We're a high-profile family. Everyone knows who I am, who my children are. What if this wasn't an accident? What if someone had been watching, waiting for an opportunity? I physically shook my head, trying to dislodge that thought. Not helpful. Focus on the search. I called out to my security lead. Have we checked the cameras? Already on it, sir. Reviewing footage now. I ran to the security office, a small building on the property where our surveillance systems are monitored. 2 security personnel were already there, scanning through multiple camera feeds. There, one of them said, pointing at a screen. 2:35 p.m. He's in the backyard. I watched the footage. X was playing with a toy rocket appropriately, given his name making it fly through the air. He looked happy, completely absorbed in his game. Forward it, I said. The footage jumped ahead. 2:40 p.m. X was still playing. 2:42 p.m. Still there. Then at 2:44, he walked toward the east side of the property, toward the tree line. Stop, go back, there, slow it down. We watched as X, in that unselfconscious way 5-year-olds have, simply decided to explore. No hesitation, no looking around to see if anyone was watching. He just walked toward the trees, the toy rocket still in his hand. The camera angle didn't cover far enough into the trees to see where he went. Do we have cameras deeper in the property? I asked, though I already knew the answer. No, sir. Camera coverage ends about 30 feet into the tree line. So he'd walked into an area we couldn't monitor, into our property but beyond our sight, into what was, effectively, wilderness. I ran back outside, toward the tree line. The security team was already searching there, but the woods were dense. A 5-year-old could hide intentionally or not in countless places. X, I shouted, my voice hoarse now. X, please answer me. The silence after each call felt heavier than anything I'd ever experienced. Every second without a response felt like confirmation that something terrible had happened. I looked at my phone. Time was passing. Every minute felt like an hour. Every second without finding him felt like confirmation that something terrible had happened. I called the police myself, explained the situation. 5-year-old boy, missing from our property, last seen walking into wooded area, extensive search underway, no sign of him yet. The dispatcher was calm, professional. Officers were being dispatched immediately. Was there any indication of foul play? Any reason to suspect abduction? I don't know, I said. And those words "I don't know" felt like the most terrifying admission I'd ever made. I kept searching, through the trees, calling his name, looking for any sign, a flash of his red shirt, the sound of crying, anything that would tell me where he was. My mind was going to dark places. What if he'd fallen? What if he was hurt and couldn't respond? What if he'd gone further than we thought, beyond our property? What if... I couldn't finish that thought, couldn't let myself go there. But the possibilities kept crowding in. A 5-year-old alone in the woods. So many things could go wrong. So many ways this could end badly. I thought about all the news stories I'd heard over the years. Children who wandered off and weren't found for hours, for days. Stories that didn't end well. No, stop. He's here somewhere. He has to be here. But what if he's not? Other parents had told me stories over the years. Stories of children who wandered off, got lost, were found hours later cold and scared but safe. I'd heard those stories with sympathy but not real understanding. Not this understanding, not this primal terror that makes rational thought almost impossible. All I could think was, I was in a meeting. I was talking about production schedules while my son was walking into the woods alone. I was discussing timeline optimizations while he was disappearing. What kind of father does that make me? I pushed the thought away. Not now. Find him first. Process guilt later. A security officer called out from deeper in the woods. Sir, I think I hear something. I ran toward his voice, crashing through underbrush, not caring about the branches catching my clothes, scratching my arms. Where? He pointed. That direction. Thought I heard a voice. We both stood still, listening. At first, nothing, then faint. So faint I wasn't sure if I was imagining it a sound. A child's voice? X, I shouted. X, keep talking. I'm coming. Another sound, clearer this time. Definitely a child's voice. Crying? I ran toward it, not caring about anything except getting to that sound, getting to my son. And then I saw him. He was sitting at the base of a large oak tree, maybe 200 yards into the woods. His red shirt was dirty, his face was tear-streaked, and he was clutching his toy rocket. The relief that hit me was so intense it was almost painful. My legs nearly gave out. For a moment I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I could only stare at him, alive, safe, found. Then I was running again, closing the distance, dropping to my knees beside him and pulling him into my arms. He started crying harder when he saw me. "Daddy, I got lost. I couldn't find the way back." "It's okay," I said, holding him tight, my own voice breaking. "It's okay, buddy. I've got you. You're safe." He wrapped his small arms around my neck and buried his face in my shoulder. I could feel him shaking. Or maybe I was the one shaking. Maybe we both were. "I just wanted to explore," he said between sobs. "Like you do. You always say exploring is important, but then I didn't know which way was home. And I called but nobody came, and I was scared." My heart was breaking and mending at the same time. I held him tighter, unable to speak for a moment. The relief was so overwhelming it was almost painful. "You're safe now," I finally managed. "I've got you. You're safe." I radioed to the security team that we'd found him, that he was safe. I heard someone notify the police that the situation was resolved. I checked my phone without really seeing it. It had been almost an hour since Maria first told me he was missing. Almost an hour of not knowing. Almost an hour of terror. But it was over. He was safe. He was found. He was in my arms. The walk back to the house felt surreal. X held my hand tightly, not letting go even for a second. Maria ran out when she saw us, crying with relief. The security team stood back, giving us space but clearly relieved. Back inside, I checked X thoroughly. A few scratches from branches, dirty clothes, but otherwise completely fine. Physically fine. "Let's get you cleaned up," I said, leading him to the bathroom. As I helped him wash his face and hands, he talked rapidly, the way kids do when they're processing something scary that's over. I thought I could find my way back, but all the trees looked the same. And I tried to remember which way I came from, but I couldn't. And then I thought maybe if I stayed in one place, you'd find me. Like you said that time about being lost. Stay in one place so people can find you. That was exactly right, I said. You did the right thing. But I was really scared, Daddy. I know, I was scared too. He looked at me with those wide 5-year-old eyes. You were scared? Terrified, I admitted. More scared than I've ever been. He seemed to process this. Even more scared than when rockets explode? Even more than that. He hugged me again, and I realized my heart rate still hadn't fully returned to normal. The adrenaline was fading, leaving me shaky and exhausted in a way no amount of work had ever made me. That evening, after X was in bed, after I'd read him 3 stories instead of the usual one, after I'd checked on him twice to make sure he was really there, really safe, I sat alone in my office and finally let myself feel everything I'd been holding back. The time it took to find him felt like an eternity. Every minute of not knowing where he was, of fearing the worst, of searching desperately, it's time I'll never forget. And I was in a meeting when it started. I've thought a lot over the past few years about priorities and presence, about being there for my children instead of always being consumed by work. I've made changes, or I thought I had, but when it came down to it, when my son was missing, I was in a meeting discussing production schedules. Maria had to search alone for 20 minutes before she even interrupted me. 20 minutes of a terrified 5-year-old sitting lost in the woods before I even knew there was a problem. That's on me. That's my failure. Not Maria's. She did everything right once she realized he was gone. But the structure of my life, the way I've set things up where work takes precedence over everything, where I'm so absorbed in meetings that even a missing child becomes an interruption to manage. What if it had taken longer to find him? What if he'd gone farther? What if something worse had happened? I can't stop thinking about that time from his perspective. Being 5 years old, alone, not knowing if anyone was looking for him, hearing noises in the woods, seeing shadows, feeling scared. Sitting at the base of that tree, crying, waiting for someone to find him. My son sat alone in the woods, terrified, while I talked about production optimization. That realization is going to stay with me. It needs to stay with me, because I never want to experience that terror again. I never want to feel that fear of not knowing where my child is. And I never want X to feel that fear of being lost and alone. The next day, I did something I've never done before. I cleared my entire schedule, everything, every meeting, every call, every commitment. I told my teams I would be unreachable for 48 hours. And I spent those 48 hours with my children, not partially present while checking my phone, not there physically but mentally elsewhere, fully, completely, undividedly present. We played. We read books. We went to the park, though I kept X within arm's reach the entire time. We had long, rambling conversations about nothing important and everything important. We built towers with blocks. We watched movies. We just existed together, in the same space, giving each other full attention. And I realized something. I couldn't remember the last time I'd done this, really done this, been completely present with my children for an extended period without any work interruptions. That's shameful, and it's fixable, but only if I actually fix it, not just feel guilty about it. I've installed additional cameras around the property now. We've added GPS tracking to X's shoes. He doesn't know it's there, but if he ever wanders off again, we'll know exactly where he is. We've reinforced rules about staying in visible areas. We've had multiple conversations about what to do if you get lost. But the real change has to be internal, the change in how I think about priorities and presence and what actually matters. Because here's what I learned in those terrifying minutes when I didn't know where he was. Nothing matters, nothing. Not the companies, not the innovations, not the money, not the success, not any of it. Not when my son is missing, not when I don't know if he's safe. In those moments of not knowing, every achievement of my life felt meaningless. Every accomplishment felt hollow. The only thing that mattered was finding him safe. And if that's true in a crisis, if in the worst moments the only thing that matters is family, then why do I structure my normal days as if work is what matters most? I'm not going to pretend I have this all figured out now. One incident, no matter how terrifying, doesn't erase decades of ingrained habits and priorities. I'm still running multiple companies. I still have immense responsibilities. I still have work that genuinely matters. But I'm changing how I approach it. I'm changing the structure of my days to ensure that being present for my children isn't something that happens in the gaps between meetings. I'm changing how I respond when there's a conflict between work and family. I'm changing what I model for my children about what matters most. Have you ever had a moment that changed your understanding of what matters? A crisis that revealed your true priorities? Share in the comments. I think we all need to hear these stories, to be reminded of what really matters before we lose sight of it. If this resonated with you, share it with other parents. Subscribe for more honest conversations about parenthood, priorities, and having the courage to change when you realize you've been getting it wrong.